Meow everyone! It seems we are having a new health disaster in China.
May include a growing distrust in China's authorities. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Just
I'm Felipe Durante, a Brazilian engineer living in the south of China.
a reminder that we're in Operation Honeypot Phase 2. Remember to watch this video to the end and leave a like and a Honeypot comment.
Okay,
Earlier this month, Taiwanese actress Barbie Hsu tragically passed away while on vacation with her family in Japan. Also known as Big S, Hsu was blasted into stardom in East Asia after starring in the 2001 hit Taiwanese TV series Meteor Garden. So naturally, news of her death sent shockwaves across the entire region. This was made worse by the fact that she was only 48 and died from pneumonia triggered by a bout of influenza, which is not very common for someone her age. On the other hand, Hsu was known for struggling with poor health and had previously suffered complications from other seasonal infections, and at the same time, it probably didn't help that she was vacationing near the small Japanese town of Hakone, where there is little access to sophisticated medical facilities.
let's see how he'll find a way to blame China for that.
So, of course, Chinese state-run media took the opportunity to take shots at the Japanese health system, including the spearhead of journalistic virtue, the Global Times. Global Times reported that Hsu's death had sparked a discussion in China about Japan's flu outbreak, saying that a strong flu outbreak had caused some medical institution and pharmacies to experience shortages of treatment medications, and that some people believe that some facilities over-ordered, leading to an imbalance in inventory. In preparation for the next outbreak, the government is being urged to take measures. Of course, that stands in sharp contrast to China's medical system.
Yeah, because that never happens to China, right? This kind of news saying, oh, this is happening in China, that thing is happening in China. Your channel is basically lying about China. And now you're complaining that China is maybe doing the same with Japan.
Which is top-notch, and even won a public health award from the World Health Organization in 2023, which was a totally legitimate response to how successful China was at combating COVID.
China was successful. Who do you think was successful? Brazil? United States, where over 1 million people died?
Here's a WHO official on that.
If I had COVID-19, I want to be treated in China.
Of course,
Remember when I was calling it the CDC?
right? Right? Who should we believe? The guy who's a specialist from WHO or just a China hater? I don't know. Not that hard to choose, right?
CP virus? Should go back to that. Still,
See?
while
Just a China hater.
Chinese media were busy pointing the finger at Japanese healthcare, they somehow managed to miss the growing healthcare scandal much closer to home.
What's
In
happening
January,
in China
a
now?
growing number of leading Chinese medical professionals
Let's use just a random stock image, of course, because it has no real image to show us.
began to raise strong concerns about domestically produced drugs in China. They cited alarming experiences with local brands involving anesthesia that
Another stock image.
doesn't make people go to sleep. They could have just read Xi Jinping thought if they wanted to knock people out or have people criticize Xi Jinping. That's a great way to get knocked out. There was also blood pressure medication that doesn't lower blood pressure
Where's
and
the source?
laxatives that did not get the job done. I guess because being full of crap.
Where is the source? What's your source? Where is the link for us to check this information? No need, right? That's the main thing about those China haters. They don't have to post any source. They just say whatever they want, and that's it. No links. We're not able to check if it is real or not. People will not check anyway.
Crap is so integral to the CCP. Domestically produced generic drugs make up the vast majority of medicine available at China's public hospitals, which in turn accounts for about 70% of China's drug market and more than 80% of the country's inpatient admissions. So naturally, the drug issues highlighted by the doctors drew a lot.
Again, who are your sources? Where is the source? How can we check that? What's the name of the doctors? There's no name. It's just some random Chinese doctors.
Of attention and caused widespread consternation, which their laxatives couldn't help fix. At the same time, those examples were added to years of stories from patients who experienced limited effects and strange side effects from domestic drugs. wait, what if the CCP is the way it is because of terrible side effects?
Wow.
Oh, wait, no. These are
So funny, right?
all features of communism, not side effects.
Yeah, because the guys that the communism were fighting against, the Kuomintang, Chiang Kai-shek, they were supported by the United States and Nazis. They had Nazis here during the Civil War. For sure, they would be better, right? Because after Chiang Kai-shek ran away to Taiwan, because he was losing the war, he had a dictatorship there for 20, almost 30 years. But hey, it's okay. He's a United States dictator, so he's a friendly. So he's not really a dictator, right? But yes, was a dictatorship in Taiwan. No problem, right?
The whole thing only got worse when medical experts weighed in. After looking closely at publicly available pharmaceutical data, Dr. Xia Zhimin at Hangzhou
Finally, someone has a name.
Hospital took to social media to expose how the trial data of some generic locally produced drugs were almost completely identical to the data from the original drugs they were reproducing. No two drug trials are ever identical, and no two sets of data should ever be identical, so this indicates that
Okay, he's right about that, but where is the post? He's saying that the doctor went to social media. So it's two interesting things here. So you mean that people can go to social media to criticize the government and complain about things in China? So it's not that real big censorship here. And another thing is, where is the post? Show us a screenshot or something. Show us where it is.
the Chinese drug companies simply copy and pasted their data from foreign companies' trials rather than, doing their own trials on their own medications.
Oh, yeah, because good was the times when the United States was doing a syphilis tests with black people in Alabama, right? 100%. When they did in Costa Rica, when they did in Africa, no problem at all.
Others soon followed Xia's example and found that the data on many other domestically made generic drugs had, in one form or another, identical data sets with the original medications.
Finally, he's showing us some data, which could be from anywhere, but at least he's showing something, right? Yeah, it should not be like that. Not possible. It's not possible to be almost the same numbers.
This sparked accusations of widespread drug fraud and posed a scary situation for the millions of Chinese people that rely on the domestic brands.
Yeah, it's true. I'm working in a factory in China, a medium-sized factory, and yes, everyone is there. Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, nobody really talking about that in China, man. Really.
As the scandal was unfolding, a group of more than 20 doctors and officials put their
20 doctors. Wow.
names on
My building has 25,000 people.
a proposal to the government that would allow patients who depend on the public system to get access to original brand name drugs rather than Chinese generics, which, by the way, do you know how terrible you have to be for pharmaceutical companies to seem like the heroes in a story?
Yeah,
There's just one
we know because Pfizer tried to do that in Brazil.
problem. Such drugs have been largely pushed out of public health care in China since 2018, when the central government implemented a new policy that encourages fierce competition between drug makers that want to supply China's public hospitals. The policy has worked as intended, sharply driving down drug prices. Because
No samples. He doesn't show anything. You see that most of the video is just this man saying stuff. He doesn't prove anything. He has no sources, no links, barely have names. It's just those China haters, they used to be more creative. Now it seems like they just make something on ChatGPT and start reading out aloud.
Because in the process, foreign pharmaceutical companies have largely surrendered the field to Chinese manufacturers that are willing to sell their drugs at rock-bottom prices. It would seem you get what you pay for, and China is paying the price. According to healthcare expert Helen Chen, there have long been concerns that cutting the price
Where does she work? She's a health expert from which country? Where's the information?
of drugs will lead to manufacturers cutting corners. And in her words, now there are some public voices saying it is happening.
Okay. Finally he's showing something. See how hard it is to get anything from those guys. A rare display of public anger is unfolding in China over the quality of domestically produced drugs. A prominent Shanghai surgeon, again, people who doesn't have names in China, pointed to anesthetics that do not put patients to sleep. A respected Beijing cardiologist who also doesn't have a name. You see, that's the problem with things here. People never have a name, so how can you trust this information?
Indeed, there are, Helen. One of them underscored the problem with an example from the world of eye drops. Bad eye drops, eh? I know the CCP wants to blind their citizens, but I always thought it was figurative, not literal.
He's so funny, right?
Writing on the Chinese Q&A platform Zhihu, the person expressed doubts
I never heard about this platform, like really.
about the antibacterial properties of a domestic brand of Chinese eye drops, adding that just the feeling of dropping it into the eye, many patients have reported burning and stinging sensations.
So I have this one from, which company is this one? That I brought from the United States, Refresh Tears. It does the same. Every time I have it in my eyes, I feel this burning. That doesn't last long, but it's still. And this is from the United States. I brought it last month when I was in California.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised communists don't see an issue with a solution that causes more problems than it solves.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But the drug is almost 1/10 of the price of the Japanese brand that is commonly used on that front, making it even cheaper than a bottle of mineral water, and thus saving the Chinese state a lot of money. So while you're gouging your eyes out just to make the burning stop, just think of how much more painful it would be if the government had to pay a couple bucks more. With the scandal threatening to turn into a full-blown crisis of confidence in the Chinese public.
Yeah, it's always, every video of those guys, especially this one, is China is about to explode or implode. Depends on the context. It's always like that. China's on the brink of a social revolution, always. But then when you are living here, nothing is really happening, like really.
Public hospitals and the pharmaceutical industry. The national healthcare regulator soon announced that it would look into the matter, assuming they didn't use those eye drops and can still.
Oh, so the government is asking for people's opinion. That's amazing. I thought China was just a dictatorship and Xi Jinping would just tell people what to do. But, well, interesting.
Look at things. Just a few weeks later, in early February, the regulator finished its work and concluded that its investigation into quality concerns had found them to be unsubstantiated, and that perceptions that generic drugs, such as anesthetics and laxatives, were less effective arose from subjective feelings. You know, the subjective feeling of waking up in the middle of surgery. Quit screaming, you contrarian.
This never happened, right? It's only in China these kind of things happen.
On top of that, posts like those written
There's so many reasons that could cause a person to wake up in the middle of a surgery.
by Hangzhou Hospital's Xia Zhimin, which had raised alarms, were thoroughly scrubbed from the Chinese internet. And the data on Chinese generic
Oh, maybe that's why he doesn't have any screenshot. Oh, so sad.
drugs that had been used to compare drug trials was blocked from public access. So, case closed and trust restored. Yeah.
Yeah, let's trust you, right? The American China hater.
No.
No.
Several
Thank
online
you.
commenters
Thank you.
expressed dissatisfaction with the authorities' handling of the scandal, with one internet user writing in a WeChat blog post that if there's no problem with all the information, why is it not allowed to download it?
Okay, that's
In the blog
an honest question, right? Yeah. If there's no problem, why people are not allowed to download it?
post, which is appropriately titled History Rhymes, the author drew parallels between the generic medication scandal and a cooking oil contamination scandal.
Man, this is João da Silva. So this is fake name, okay? João da Silva is a Brazilian or Portuguese name. It's just a fake random name. I mean, really.
That sparked headlines in China and beyond back in July. That one damaged trust in the enforcement of food safety standards when it was revealed that fuel tankers had been used to transport cooking oil after carrying toxic chemicals without being cleaned properly between loads. As if fried food wasn't already bad enough for you.
Yeah, that's bad. That doesn't mean that is the government telling companies how to do this kind of stuff, right? But yeah, it shouldn't happen.
That scandal was in turn similar to another product safety issue that was thrown into the spotlight by a post on Xiaohongshu or Rednote.
See how many things are being posted on Chinese social media? Wow. So do you mean that people can really complain about Chinese social media? Wow.
In November, a woman that had recently bought sanitary pads found them almost 4 centimeters shorter than advertised.
I think I saw this on Chinese internet. I think I saw it.
Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but it sparked a wave of amateur investigations that turned up evidence of factories using used shredded pads and diapers.
I saw this. Jesus. So sometimes things in China are not okay at all.
To make new
To say the best.
sanitary products.
Yeah.
It also spurred Chinese consumers to start posting lists of numerous well-known Chinese brands whose pads have reportedly contained maggots, mold, and other contaminants.
No.
Such contaminated pads, often sold cheaply on e-commerce platforms, have been linked to pelvic inflammation and other gynecological problems. As a result, many have advised Chinese women to stay away from cheap domestic brands. But unfortunately, as is the case with domestic drugs, many financially struggling Chinese don't have much choice but to go for the cheaper options and hope for the best.
So see, he doesn't have any proofs how his reasoning works. He has no proofs about the medication thing. It's just this doctor said that doctor said this, and that's it. So he's using another example of a real problem, the pads or diapers, and say, look, if this is true, this is also true. And that's how it works. He has no proofs about the medication, but he has to find a way to give credibility of his argument.
And just as with the generic medication scandal, posts and comments about the unsanitary sanitary pads and the contaminated cooking oil were quickly removed and censored.
Well, if it was removed, how did you access? How I saw it. I saw it on Xiaohongshu. I mean, I was just lying again, right?
By the authorities. Don't worry, everything is fine. Obviously, scandals surrounding lack of safety for consumers are far from purely a Chinese problem. But there
Thank you.
are just 1 or 2 problems with the formula the CCP uses for handling such situations. It goes something like this. Step 1, censor public discussions and close off access to public information if there is any. If no one can talk about it publicly, it didn't happen. Step 2, the authorities vow to carry out an investigation of the matter behind closed doors that eventually concludes that either nothing is wrong, so carry on, or that the scandal is a result of a few bad apples who are then rounded up and purged or punished, or both.
Because this only happens in China. Wow. It's describing how companies work everywhere in the world. I mean, it's the same. You literally have Elon Musk controlling the United States now. He was not elected by anyone. He was not voted by anyone. And he's controlling the most powerful country in the world, man. And you're complaining about women pads in China.
Step 3, implement new rules with government officials assuring everyone that everything is good now.
Yeah.
Step 4, potentially launch an anti-corruption campaign, as the CCP did for the Chinese health industry in 2023, another classic tool used by the Chinese government to
Economic was piled up. China has launched a sweeping anti-corruption campaign targeting hospitals. Is this a bad thing? China is fighting corruption. Somehow this is bad? That's not what Elon Musk is doing now what supposedly is doing now in the United States.
clean up, despite such campaigns' dubious track record. Only then, after all those steps, it all happens again. I'd say it's like a bad dream you can't wake up from, but they know they're awake since the anesthetic still doesn't work. Problem is, from the moment
Man, you don't live in China. You hate China. So why you're so worried about China? Because it makes a lot of money, right? It's over 2 million subscribers. It's making a lot of money on YouTube.
the authorities crack down on public
On this video alone, he made over $2,000.
discussions until they deliver their finished verdict, the whole process is a closed government affair, with their transparency ending at "trust me, bro." This isn't exactly a recipe for
That what happened in Russia, okay? Xi Jinping was entering a hall to talk with Putin. I don't remember exactly what happened. And then the Russians' bodyguards stopped Xi Jinping bodyguards to enter. So that was not in China.
restoring public trust in the sectors and the regulators involved, as there is little way of knowing what's going on behind closed doors and what measures are actually going to be prioritized going forward to ensure the safety of Chinese consumers. To make matters worse, public faith in the government is shaky as it is, after government credibility took a massive hit following the authorities' draconian and somehow WHO award.
Oh, Foreign Affairs is saying China is bad. Wow, I would never expect that. Foreign Affairs that received the money from USAID. Wow.
Winning CCP virus measures.
Well, that's not the perception people has in China. Okay, that's not true. People in China, they think the government did right. They think at the end was messy because the government just opened the borders and then a lot of people got sick at once. So it was hard to find medicines. There was no place in the hospital. It was very, very messy. But in general, people think that what the government did was good.
Made worse by the difficult economic times that came in their wake.
Yeah, China is growing only 5% per year. That's bad for a country that was growing 12%.
Doesn't help that Chinese public authorities and regulators ultimately don't serve the public, they serve the Chinese Communist Party. Part of that feature, not side effect I mentioned. Sure, it's not fun being a government agency or a company that's embroiled in a massive public scandal.
Man, this video is too long.
But in the end, it's the CCP's leadership decision that can make or break you in China.
See how he manipulates things. Let's back to the first argument. He's saying about the pharmaceutical issues, no proofs at all. And now he's using an image of a previous president of China being removed from this event. This guy had Alzheimer. He passed away, I think, last year. He had Alzheimer, so he got confused often. And it was not new. Everybody in China knew he had Alzheimer. He was also helped to enter this event. But of course, this guy will never show you this image, the footage of this man. There's a man helping the old man. He was helping to enter as well. So they are removing him because he has Alzheimer. He get confused. They didn't want him to lose his face in this big event. That's why he was removed.
Whether you're a former Chinese leader or an entire industry. And for the CCP leadership...
Yeah, because China is not the United States. Now in the United States, we are seeing Elon Musk, Zuckerberg controlling the country. In China, this will never happen. The government will control those companies.
Contaminated sanitary pads and fraudulent drugs are minor hiccups in a broader success story about Chinese companies taking over from foreign companies and saving the state billions in medical costs in the process. However, as the CCP has assured us all many times before, they are here first and foremost to serve the Chinese people.
Yep.
That's why I'm super confident that the next time a generic Chinese drug with sketchy data is ready for the domestic market, the Chinese leadership will come forth and be the first ones to test it out in a display of their unwavering faith.
So just to let you know, most of the medicines you take outside of China are coming from China, or at least the raw material.
In China's award-winning healthcare. And that's the kind of...
His microphone, his camera, his light, the fabric of his clothes, everything is coming from China. Probably. Maybe the fabric come from India or Bangladesh, but probably it's from China.
Surgical satire you won't get anywhere else. And it's why we can't let YouTube kill the show with their suppression.
Yeah, then he comes with this, YouTube is censoring us. Ooh, yeah, for sure. YouTube is helping the communist part of China. And stop crying, man. You're a professional hater, a successful one. You're making a lot of money here on YouTube. Stop crying, man, really. Also, if you like my video, please leave a comment here. I will try to do more often because I have another channel in Portuguese that's almost 200,000 subscribers. I decided to start something in English because there's more content. There's too many lies in English. So here I am. Leave a comment here, leave a like, and let me know what you think.